Hi, I'm Larry McAtee, Ward 3 City Councilman, and today I think we've got one of the most exciting projects and one of the exciting programs we've had in the Ward 3 show. We're going to be talking about the downtown or modern streetcar, and we have with us the program director for MAPS 3 from the city of Oklahoma City, David Todd, professional engineer, musician, father of a famous softball player, and a great golfer with us. David, how about introducing our guests, okay?
Be glad to. To your immediate left and to my far right is Zane Boatright, who's functioning right now as chairman of the subcommittee for the streetcar. And to my immediate right is Nathaniel, who was the chairman of the subcommittee, but his service in Afghanistan required him to be away for an extended period of time, so that's why we've had a change. But here soon Nathaniel will assume the chairmanship of the subcommittee again, and they're both on the Citizens Advisory Board also.
What's the subcommittee been involved with, David? What's their responsibility?
They have oversight of the things that the office does and the consultants do with the design and different aspects of the streetcar that as we've gone along. You know, they meet monthly and they go over the different things that we present each month. Okay,
and so for the last year, Zane, you've been the chairman of that. And Nathaniel's coming back in. And we appreciate your service, by the way, to the country. Welcome back, sir.
Good to be back.
Zane, how about giving us a little update on what's going on?
Well, over the last year, we've worked on getting an engineering consultant on board with us on contract so that they can help us with laying out the proposed route for the streetcar system, looking at the different possibilities of what type of vehicles we might want to purchase in the future. And they've also been doing a study to look at any utilities that might be throw roadblocks in the way of where we would propose to lay the track.
Now you talked about the design route. How much money do you have for this particular project?
We have $128 million set aside for the track and the cars and development of the program, and that's going to lay in about 5 to 6 miles of track in a two-phase plan, and also purchase the cars. And then we have $10 million that's set aside to help with the purchase of a central hub that we're currently looking at being the Santa Fe station.
Now you say central hub. Nathaniel, what's a central hub going to be doing?
Well, we're calling it an intermodal hub is another name for it, where it's going to be able to handle traffic from different sorts of transportation, not just the modern streetcar. Certainly at first that'll be its main purpose, but also tie in commuter rail, maybe light rail, connect it to bus rapid transit. So you can get from the airport to downtown and then transfer modes and get anywhere you need to downtown. So it'll be quite a center of all the transportation long term.
So that center is now projected to be the existing Santa Fe station?
Right.
Okay, now you mentioned that you've got a designed route from there. What's been some of the criteria that you've been using for that design route, and where does that design route stand as we sit here right now?
Okay. Right now we have about 5 miles that we're laying in as what we call a preferred route that we're going to make, or we've recommended to the City Council. And by no means is it written in stone. But we've met with businessmen and the public, and we'll continue to have public meetings on where they can provide ideas on where they would like to see the route go. But we're looking at how we can support the current businesses and areas like Bricktown and the Convention Center and the park, and then also looking at how we can spur future development in Oklahoma City.
Now that future development, Nathaniel, what are some of the parameters you look at as far as spurring future development?
Well, experience in other cities and some studies have shown that if you have a certain level of development, a certain level of real estate being used, realty being used, but also attractions and hotels, that there's a certain level at which a streetcar will spur that, will intensify it. Whereas if you have no development, if it's just a blank plot of property, the streetcar doesn't just kind of manifest development. So knowing that is key. And so knowing not just focusing on just visitors per se and just where they would go, but also focusing on where residents would go and where they would spend their money and their time, and tying in residential with places of work and entertainment.
So you guys are looking not only just moving people, but you're also looking at this as to spur development.
Certainly, and I think some of these cities that have already installed some streetcar systems, like Portland and Salt Lake City, for example, have seen a tremendous boom in the development in both residential and business along the routes that they've laid in. Other cities are taking off on that, Seattle, Dallas, Atlanta, Kansas City, Little Rock, and Cincinnati are just to name a few.
So now when can our citizens see some track being laid? What's the current projection?
They'll start to see that at the end of next year. So we'll start buying materials later this year. And then 2014, you'll be able to point to it and say that's where the streetcar is going to go. And you'll see some of that being laid. Procure cars or vehicles next year. So hopefully you can see what that looks like in the newspapers and say, you know, I'm going to be able to ride on that. And by 2017, you'll hopefully be able to take your first ride.
Now you say procure cars. This is a lot more complex than just going to an automobile dealership and saying, I want this one or that one, isn't it?
It is quite a bit. In fact, there's a lot of things that we have to take into consideration, and number one being the propulsion system. We don't know if we're going to use a catenary system, which is all track on wire, where we'll have to lay wire over the streets, or whether we'll do
Now what's that buzzword again?
Catenary.
Okay, to the uninformed, that just means
The overhead
wire
Overhead
over the
wires.
street. Okay,
and
I
we'd
got
like
it.
to stay away from that, and that's our goal. There are different methods where it's catenary on part of the track, and then it charges the batteries where it can come off catenary, so that you can go under overpasses and then through districts where the people don't particularly want wire. But we're also looking at alternative fuels like natural gas or other types of propulsion. In addition to that, there's another one that's called induction, where the power strip is actually in the track itself or in the ground itself, so that we would not have overhead wires.
So there's a lot of technology that's going to be looking at here to figure out which powering method is going to be best for Oklahoma City.
Additionally, something you have to take into consideration, you know, it gets awfully hot here in Oklahoma City, so Phoenix has run into a situation where they need to make sure that their cars are adequately cooled for the people, and then we've got to take into consideration handicap so that they have access to the vehicle too.
And the stops as well. You want to make sure you design the stops to where if you're waiting, you know, you're waiting several minutes for the next vehicle, that you're not just out there sweating. So make sure we accommodate and design for that, and make it someplace that's aesthetically pleasing as well.
Now, I've heard people ask, why a streetcar? I don't live in the downtown area. I live out in the, quote, suburbs of Oklahoma City. Why should I be excited about the downtown streetcar?
Oh, the thing that really got me involved and passionate about it is in the spirit of what we've done in MAPS 3 and the tremendous growth that we've seen for this city, and the reputation that we want to demonstrate to other people. It's going to really attract a lot of businesses from outside when they come in and look at Oklahoma City and see that, hey, we have a transit system that can support the people that we move here. That's a big plus for the city. And then there are a lot of venues that are going in, like the Whitewater Park and Bricktown, where we want to get people to that you have limited parking, and this is going to help eliminate some of that.
Okay. But what would you say to the people that say, I don't go downtown, and I just want to, I don't even want to think about that.
Maybe now you will.
Yeah, I think they're
Maybe
really
we'll go
missing out.
downtown.
I think people are really missing out if they're not coming down and seeing what's happening downtown. This is a great place. There's a lot of good things going on over the next several years. With the MAPS 3, you're going to see some exciting things with the park development, the convention center, and then most importantly, I think, the Whitewater Park.
Now we've got 8 projects involved in MAPS. To you guys, which one is the most exciting?
Oh, streetcar. of
Streetcar,
course.
absolutely.
What a surprise. There you have it, folks.
Yeah.
Why?
I think it's going to be great. It's going to be a big development boost for Oklahoma City. It's going to make Oklahoma City more attractive to people that come and visit us and see how we're growing. And then it gives you a way to get around and enjoy the city without having to worry about rubbernecking and when you're driving and creating hazards. And then the other MAPS programs, like you said, Whitewater Park is a very exciting park, and I can't wait to see that go in.
The streetcar is something that it's going to impact how you get around. It's going to connect all the other projects and everything else that we have in the city. And it's going to be something that is, I think, the most unique. It's the most different than anything else that we've had in any other MAPS projects. We haven't had streetcars since early 20th century, certainly not anything like what we're going to have. And for those reasons, and the fact that you won't be able to really get around Oklahoma City without knowing, hey, there's that modern streetcar that I've heard about, and you'll see it wherever you go.
I think it's important for the public to know too that this 6 miles or 5.6 miles that we're putting in is not the end of modern streetcar for Oklahoma City. This is just the beginning. we fully expect that through the future programs, whether it's a MAPS follow-on or some other type of funding, public funding, grants, that will connect track going off into different districts, going to the Capitol Hill region, over to the Oklahoma Health Sciences area, or possibly up to the Asian district or Penn Square possibly, but out to the Whitewater Rafting Park. I believe that there's going to be a lot of expansion of this system after it's done.
So what you were saying is, I'll be able to take my first ride in 2017. I'll be able to take a ride on the full, roughly 6 miles in 2021. But that is just the beginning of what will happen in the decades ahead.
Yeah, the 2005 Fixed Guideway Study contemplated a regional transit system that ties in light rail, commuter rail, Midwest City, the airport, Norman, Edmond, and use different types of transportation are suited for different stretches of coverage. And so what you would actually see is this streetcar is just the first step, and that's called the downtown circulator. So if you get anywhere into downtown, then once you're there, you can then get anywhere, any specific location you want to with the streetcar. But if you're coming in from out of town, you get off the airport and you take bus rapid transit, or maybe you'll take commuter rail someday into downtown, and then you can get to your hotel, you can get to your meeting at the convention center. Or if you're working, in and around Tinker, you'll be able to do the same. And so those things beyond the streetcar, outside of MAPS dollars, but the work that we're doing in the streetcar subcommittee contemplates that and sets us up for success for those future iterations.
Well, that's a great point, great idea that you mentioned there, Nathan. Just play on that. The work that the committee is doing, contemplates this being just the beginning phase, and there's a lot more to come in the years ahead, is what you're saying.
Right. And we want to do this first phase right, because we know we need the support of the public for any future systems, and if we don't do it right the first time, then people are going to get soured out on it, and we don't want that to happen. So we're trying to bring in the public, business, and everybody, so that we hear what they have to say.
Now, you mentioned off camera that, in that same regard, that here we are now, roughly in February of 2013, there are going to be a number of public meetings where the public can come in, view the details, and provide their input to this as we go along. Is that right?
That's correct. All throughout this summer, we expect to have 3 to 4 more public meetings to get public input on where the route should be, and then we'll probably go with a recommendation to the City Council in the fall.
Fantastic. So the public out there should be on the edge of their seats waiting for all these to happen, because greater days are coming for public transit with our modern streetcar.
Come to the meetings and be heard. We
Fantastic.
want your input.
Hey, thank you guys for coming down. Nathaniel, welcome back again. David, thank you for taking your time. Viewers, I hope you've gotten some of the passion that these 3 gentlemen have for the downtown modern streetcar circulator that's coming to Oklahoma City. Stay tuned. Thank you for your support and your dedication to our city. And may God bless you, and come to the meetings and look forward to your modern streetcar. Greater days are ahead for Oklahoma City. Thank you for watching.